Selectman Barney,
Here.
Selectman Genoso,
Here.
Selectman Bozzello.
Is here.
Megan, are you here?
Here.
And Andy Fitch, I'm here. David?
Oh, I'm David Rule, I'm the vice chair of the budget committee and apparently the only member besides the selectman representative.
Okay.
So we don't have a quorum, so we're not officially meeting.
Okay. Okay, first item on the agenda, election budget.
Hello.
Hi,
Do you guys want me to stand or do you want me to sitting is cool?
whatever you're comfortable with.
So for the clerk salary, we went from 21,000 to 25. We took away the tax clerk longevity line. We would also like to increase the deputy clerk salary to $2,500. The FICA, Medicare are all standard. The clerk training, we just increased it by $100 for conferences and workshops. Advertising, we also increased that as well. I believe we went over budget this year, we went over. The software, went up a little bit as well. Also, the dog tags and things like that cost more. The clerk postage, it was at 500. I'd like to increase it. One, the postage went up a lot this year. Two, I have work that I need to send to the state every day in a large envelope, and it costs $3 to $5 every couple of days to mail that in, which is a lot of money. And then three, I know, for example, a lot of people would like it if they got a reminder letter in the mail. So my birthday's in July, so I would get a letter in July saying, hey, these are your vehicles and this is how much it's gonna cost you. I know people that have moved from different states don't always remember that your birthday month is that. It would also be more convenient for people so they could just send me a check and then I would mail them back their registration so they wouldn't even have to come in if they didn't want to register their vehicles online, which would save them money. And then the ballot coding also increased for a one-time purchase of the new ballot machine. We also only have one election next year. Were there any questions?
How come the election salary went down?
Oh, I can do, so supervisor, the checklist, you're to page, like the third page, they have an explanation, so you only have one election next year. So it's based off of one deliberative session and a training and workshop, and then she breaks it down by ballot clerks for that one election day. So this year we had 4 elections, Becky. We had 4 this year, so we have 1 next year. That's the decrease.
I have a question, and I think I already know the answer to this because I deal with the state and I know how they are.
Sure.
I'm assuming those forms that you're mailing in cannot be submitted electronically.
I wish they could.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I actually talked to them about that, but some of them is titles, so I have to physically mail the titles into the state.
Yep. Thank you.
And you mail the registrations for people that don't go back.
I do. Did you have one more stuff? Alright, so we're gonna go to the tax collector half of it. You're at the beginning, do you want me to just?
Why don't you do the next page where it has your narrative and just do your lines? You're on that one. Yeah, you do yours, and then I'll
Okay, good, that's fine. So the salary for the tax collector went up from 21 to 25, but we also took away the longevity salary. We'd also like to increase the deputy tax collector from 500 to 2,500. The postage for the taxes, I'm not really going to increase the postage, the things that are going to be leaving the office, so we're just increasing the postage for the actual postage increase, not because I'm mailing out more things. The registry of deeds, we're leaving the same. The training, we bumped it up just by $100. And the final expense would be for the special paper, envelopes, and the software, and things like that as well.
So on the finance line, I have a finance officer's 3% salary increase. The treasurer, we've left the same. We adjusted for them, for the treasurer and the deputy treasurer last year. So they have stayed the same. FICA and Medicare, I assume, for all the salary lines in that budget. The consulting fee, so we have a town CPA that we kind of call in as needed. He's needed less, so I've decreased that for usage. Then the audit is our audit fees for next year, which get spread out amongst the utilities. The general expense, we've left the same. That's what we use for like buying check stock and just like normal AP payroll related items. Software is where the increase really lies. We have a new software that was approved earlier this year by the selectmen to move from BMSI to MTS, and they are working with us to pay our implementation over 3 years. So we will be fully paid in 2026. It's $8,000 per year to get it implemented. We've actually started using it. It's fantastic. And that line also includes our payroll fees. So there's some one-time fees in there that'll disappear after the 2026 budget.
Did you have any questions about those things for me?
What's the budget committee expense?
So I just put that under mine because they have bought like training manuals, like you can get stuff through NHMA. So like this past year we bought books. That was like the budget law stuff. We also put their PVTV expenses in, so when PVTV comes and they film them, their expenses get allocated to them, whereas yours get allocated to you. So
Yeah.
so that's basically where that line is. I know last year the budget committee had discussed putting it down to 1,000, but something happened when they voted it, so it stayed at 2,000. So I just plug it in, leave it for them to discuss.
I know it's not big dollars, but the actual is 788 and it's at 2,000.
Yeah, it got increased in the 23 budget. I think anticipation of training fees. But again, they have not. You guys have probably not discussed your expenses for next year yet.
No, not really.
Yeah, so I just kind of put it in as a placeholder till the budget committee meets to decide what they want to do with it. I think Chris had a question.
I do.
I don't know if I can call him, but I'm going to.
So the finance software.
Yeah.
The 29,931, because it said that includes 2025 portion of implementation.
Yep.
Fully paid in 2026, so
Yep.
we're gonna see that same amount in the budget for 2026 as well?
So that also houses our payroll fees, and our payroll fees, they anticipated a 2 to 3% increase
Okay.
on, which we pay monthly. So I budgeted the same amount I did for this year, for next year for payroll. So you should see about the exact same number, 2026, and then it'll drop back down to just our annuals. Our annuals with them, I believe, are just shy of 8,000.
Okay,
Moving forward. So this includes the 8,000 for implementation, the 8,000 for annual plus payroll.
okay, so it's a front-loaded hit because of the rollout.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we paid a portion this year. I was able to do that this year. We'll pay the exact same amount next year and then one more time. So we broke it out evenly over across 3 years.
Gotcha, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Let's move on.
Did you wanna talk about, I'm sorry to interrupt, did you want to talk about that really quick?
Yeah, our town clerk needs our tax collector needs okay on the letter, to
Because
the Edward Doggett Campground. Has everybody looked at it?
Yeah.
And is everybody comfortable with it?
Do you have some idea on that?
Yeah, might.
I think, do you want to take a vote on it?
I think we need to take a vote on that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the campers of the Edward Doggett Campground letter regarding the tax bill for the season of 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I abstain. If you sign it, because it has to be from the assessors, from you guys, I would be more than willing to facilitate mailing out of there to the campers who've reached out to me that would like to.
Okay, you should probably, you want all signatures or you just want one?
Whatever the board would like. There's room on the bottom of that page for all or one, whatever.
What do you think, folks? All or just one?
I just do one because I can abstain.
Okay,
And I have a pink pen.
we'll just do one.
Perfect, that sounds
Yep.
lovely. And I will, when I get back on Thursday, I will make it. So, thank you so much for your time.
Have a good night.
Good luck
I will.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, I'll see you all tomorrow.
Personal administration.
Right. So this is our health insurance budget. So previously, for those of you on the board, they, Health Trust would send out a guaranteed maximum rate for the following year, and then sometime in March or April, they would actually set the rates. So we would prepare for the worst, hope for the best. They changed that this year, so they chose to just give us our rates in October. Health insurance went up by 13%, which was quite a hit. Last year it went up 15.7, so it's gone up tremendously over the last 2 years. So this budget, I'm just gonna go down line by line because it's short. Sick buyout, so we offer a buyout of up to 5 days or 40 hours of sick time if you have it, once a year to each employee. What I do is I take the salaries and I average them. Not everybody takes the buyout, so this number seems to have worked for us so far this year, so not looking to change it for next year. Health insurance retired, so the retirees, we now have more people in that line. than we did previously, and it went up 10%. So retirees' health insurance also increased. Medical insurance, so that's a 13% increase. Retirement is New Hampshire retirement. They changed their rates on June 30th of 2024 with new rates effective July 1. So the actual rate that we match at goes down July 1 of next year for both Group 1 and 2. Disability insurance and life insurance, there was no changes to those. It's just that it's based off of the salaries of people. So I actually took actuals and just plugged them in. So that's why those numbers have changed, but there was no actual percentage change on the premium. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And then I think it's me again. You've got the other type of insurance, which is Primex. So Primex went up quite a bit, but the allocation was different. So the way that Primex does it is they take into consideration the payroll, how payroll was distributed, then they put the rates set off of that. So our rates actually went up, but because the allocation was set up differently, perceivably in the general fund, it went down. But there was actually a 9% increase in property, auto, and liability. There was another increase for workers' comp and unemployment. Unemployment actually went down 9.9%. Sorry, workers' comp was 10% up. So I go in and I allocate it to each of the departments respectively. So water, sewer, and electric eat a piece of this. And then the terrorism policy generally comes in somewhere around $1,900. They don't really tell me until it happens. So I've budgeted in $2,000, and that seems to work. And then we have the $1,000 contingency for so just in case anything happens. And then for economic development, I did leave this at $1. I do not know if that's something that you would like to reconsider later on, but I've just plugged in what we have for the last few years as a placeholder.
Don't spend it all at once.
We'll try to be careful.
We'll have to talk about that.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody get ready for the public works? So we'll start at the top, is just salaries and the increases, percent increases for that. Pretty much for the public works, for the first part of it, there's really not any changes other than the salary lines, as you guys can see there. Computer fees went up a little bit because of the contract. No, it's contract, so. Anybody got any questions on the first part of the public works? Nothing really changed from it. No. All right, go down to highways and streets if anybody's ready. So if you can look at highways and streets, I think there's really not much change. It says the net change is $29.93, but it's a little less than that, because if you guys noticed, the street improvement line is a grant that actually went up, so it makes that line go up a little bit. So it's a grant from the state, so really I level funded that budget for highways and streets. The only thing is, I went up a little bit on the equipment line, $500, because everything's so much more expensive. Any questions on what we do with the public, with the streets and everything?
No,
It's about, but it's good with it.
pretty much almost flat funded it all the way through.
I did, yeah, I mean, it really got it pretty well.
The question I think I would have, Craig, is it enough?
Well, I can, yeah, well, We should be asking more probably for our warrant article items for the capital reserve funds. And I got a little email typed up for review the next meeting. We haven't increased our, capital reserve funding since 2016 when it was established. It's been 125,000 saved for the streets ever since then. And it used to be I'd use about 100,000 a year and I'd put 25,000 in the bank for bigger projects. And those bigger projects are coming up like North Ashland Road. It's a 3-mile road. And we always wanted to build up a budget so I could save 25 grand every year to put in the bank for when we go to do that road. It's a 3-mile road, that's a lot of money that we're gonna have
Yeah,
to pay,
well,
so.
that's basically the question here. I mean, are we keeping up?
We're keeping up with our general maintenance, and the budget in here is general maintenance of our roads, our ditching, our repairs, the potholes, the little repair jobs that I do. But the major road projects is where we get the capital reserve funding. And we haven't gone up on that. I've been able to, so far, keep, we're spending about what we,
Yeah, steady loaded for
it's,
so
yeah,
much
I'm
a
spending over
year.
100 every year now because pavement is so much now. So we gotta think about going up and how much you feel is comfortable for the
Yeah,
public to vote on, whether we wanna go to 135 or 100 and
well, I think,
more.
we need you to give this some thought in terms of what are we buying? In other words, if we spend $1, what doesn't get fixed? If we spend,
Yep.
$100,000, what gets fixed?
Yeah,
What's the difference?
There's some,
What's the money going to do?
we've talked about, some of the other projects coming up are like, all the side roads off Cottage, the town office, all those little ones. They're the oldest pipes in town now. Do we go in with water and sewer to think about drainage and water and sewer and road pavement all at once? And then we fund it. I mean,
That's it.
my budget is really maintenance of our town, keeping the town, once we fix a road and pave it, to keep it good. Crack sealing every year and all the kinds of, maintenance, the preventative maintenance that we do, the ditching, replacing of culverts. But the bigger projects that we work with water and sewer with Andrew a lot, like Thompson Street, that's all gotta be bonded. I can't put that kind of stuff in the budget. So I can afford, this budget is just to maintain the town, and I do have enough
day-to-day operations.
to do day-to-day operations, to mow the lawns, to take the garbage out and all the kinds of stuff that we need to do, to plow the roads, to salt the roads. This is just general maintenance, there's no big projects. But a big project is what I would consider North Ashland Road, the big, long roads. And we've talked about it, Andy and I have talked about some formula to put away to get this up more so we can afford to do North Ashland Road when it comes time to, and it almost is time to pave it or do some maintenance up there again. So,
Well, these big projects are kind of creeping up on us.
they are.
And
Yeah.
that's the concern.
And we knew that,
Okay.
we know that, we've talked about it in the past, you and I and Andy have talked about it. But the highway, we tried, what I have in there to do maintenance, and that's what we're doing with it, is sufficient. Yep. The next line is, let's see, the mechanic, again, everything that's increased is just salary related, we kind of level funded that. Any questions on the mechanic stuff? No, we'll go on to the transfer station. So the beginning of it is just salaries, those all went up, and you guys remember we put a full-time position in there. So that's the big reason why that line went up. However, I think Andy might have shown you guys the benefits of putting that position in are coming. We've captured a lot more revenue over the short few months that Shelley's been there, so it's paying off. So anyway, the landfill testing, I don't handle that, goes through the town office, but that has increased, looks like almost $1,000, $900. So that's something we don't have any control over. The electric again is gonna go up, we all know that.
Oh yeah, let me do my blanket statement of, if you see electric, water and sewer right
Yeah.
now, it's got a placeholder of 15%. So we don't know what the new rates will be quite yet, so it's just a placeholder. They'll get revised.
Just to go over the solid waste general for the new people. Anything, when you see the general line in there, that's what I ship out my electronics for that line, the shingles. Everything that we charge for comes out of that line. So there's a revenue behind all that goes into the general fund. So even though there's $12,000 in there last year, we went over because the more we recycle down there, the more that line's gonna go up. Cause the more that we pay attention, the more that people pay their fees. It goes up, but it's back-ended, we make money on it. So it's actually a wash on the $12,000. So it's all compensated back into the general fund, just so you guys know.
Craig, how does that hauling work? We have an outside contractor who does that, right?
That's right, Casella, it's the contract through the Penny Baker Solid Waste District.
Okay, so that's going up 10 grand for 2025.
Yeah, but the only thing that we've never been able to estimate what it's gonna be. So again, the more that we catch people and make them pay for it, the more that line goes up.
Yeah.
So half of that, 50% of that is construction debris. And we capture that through the scales.
Right, yep,
50% of it is solid waste
okay,
that you generate, you bring down there, and the town pays for that part of it. So the more we put through the scales, the more that we capture.
okay,
So that goes up. So it goes up, but it's really not a true number. You guys can find out the real numbers on the revenue side of the budget.
Yep.
But that doesn't reflect here, but yeah, it's gone up because we've been in a negative every year because we're doing better at recycling and capturing more things that go over the scale. So it did go up, but we captured a lot more money on the back end of it.
okay.
For fees. This year, the solid waste district dues went up. And just so you guys know, that's kind of a year. So whatever we did the previous year is what they assessed for this year. So I assume this line is gonna go down next year. I expect it to go down, especially with us doing better with the recycling. So these are the numbers, they based what the new rates will be on 2023 numbers. So it did go up a little bit, but we're doing better recycling down there now. So it's based on tonnage of what we send out of solid waste for the year. And that's gone up. Some of what you guys discussed with Randlett bringing their trash in, if you guys remember voting on that. So he brings his trash in, but he pays for it. If he recycled everything, he'd be able to put that tonnage in for free. So he pays for everything, so that tonnage went up, but we got paid significantly more than what we would have, so that number is gonna, it went up just because of that, I think. Cause he's bringing in tonnage, by the end of the year. So it went up a little bit, but we got well compensated for that $500 that it went up by him doing that, so it's kind of anybody has any questions offline, I can explain how that works. But basically we level funded everything that we could on there. I have enough to do with what I need. Any questions on that?
Are we taking credit card down there yet?
We don't, there's no internet down there.
Still.
Still no internet. We don't have cable down there, there's just a phone line.
Okay.
So everything that would have to go to the phone line. So it's up to you guys, we can look at putting one in there, but the public seems pretty used to paying cash.
Okay.
But if you guys wanna,
No, I didn't realize there wasn't internet there, so.
there's no cable, no
Yeah.
Time Warner cable.
That's a big expense to run it all the way back there. I get it.
Yeah, and there's just a phone line, so we'd have to either have wireless, which is,
You have to get a hotspot, which you're gonna be paying for.
yeah,
No.
so it would just cost us money to do it for the
Okay.
few people that, But people are used to it now, bringing cash in, they know, and
Yep.
they seem pretty responsive to it. They're okay with it.
What's the control on the cash?
It gets brought up every day to the town office, gets counted, the sheet's filled out, gets signed by Shelley, the attendant down there. Brought up, it gets counted by finance and
And then it gets
reconciled,
Becky,
and then it goes.
Becky counts it.
I mean, at the recycling center itself, how do we know we have all the bills that were put through? Is there a check and balance at all down there on, how that?
Yeah, everything's brought up, all the bills are brought up, and Marissa checks every bill with every cash, every bill, she goes through every one.
What if the bill is missed?
So they're sequentially numbered, so what Craig will do is like if there's like a screw up, like if they put it through and it doesn't print properly or there's an issue,
Yep.
they'll write on it, like void, like have them go back over the scale.
Yep.
So that the sequential
Well,
numbers.
they make sure
are
that they're-
there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there is a sequential number check, so
Everyone's sequentially.
everything has to be accounted for.
That's right.
Even if we void one, that
That
will be
comes out.
accounted
It
for.
absolutely has to come up,
That's
we
what
don't just, can never throw one away.
That's what I was asking.
They know that, and if
Okay.
they ever try it, we. But yeah, everything's numbered and they check every time.
Okay, that's the check, thank you.
Any other questions? That's all my budget.
No, thank you.
Okay. And I think we got the next one, Andy, for the next, you want me to stay up here for that, or?
For Shelley, you have the
Oh.
signature sheet.
Yes, I do. Might as well do that right now.
I don't know if you had any questions, it's just, so this is, I want to take George Chase off the alternate member to Pemmy Baker. We have a quarterly meetings up there, I'm the main guy that goes up, and, but I want Shelley to be the alternate. I want her to start getting used to being involved with it, because everybody that goes to that Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District actually works at the transfer station. Every member up there, except for me, I'm kind of the odd guy, but, so I'd like her to start going to that stuff to get, it's actually, you learn a few things about what's going on, changes that are coming out about, and, so I'd like her to start going, she agreed to do it, so I just need your approval to put her as an alternate to the Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Shelley Thompson from the Ashland Public Works Transfer Station as the alternate representative to the Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ann, when you're ready?
Okay, so the first line is just a 3% raise. Then the FICA and Medicare background check. I added one more person because I need to hire another person for summer camp, so I don't have to turn people away this year. The electricity, water and sewer, like Marissa said, we just kind of did placeholders of 15% for that. The internet and cable, that is what the increase is for them, so that's what it is. Phone, the same. Chemical toilets, I looked around and found someone that is much cheaper that we're gonna try out for next year. Advertising stayed the same, office supplies, went up 100 just because the price of everything. Contract cleaning stayed the same, clubhouse supplies, computer, that's what the estimate is for this year. Building expenses, that went up because, when the guys come and do check all the furnace and the smoke stuff and
Preventive maintenance.
yeah, everything's gone up a little bit, so we need to make sure that we can cover that. Field expenses, that's what it is to get everything to make it look the way it does. The park and rec equipment, which is the balls and stuff like that, went up just because of the cost, and the tennis and basketball court stayed the same because it's not time yet to have them redone. Anybody have a question on that page? Okay, so now we're going to campground cleaning, that is what we are charged. The campground services, that is the waste pickup, and instead of going with waste management again, we are gonna go with Witcher because they are a little bit cheaper. The other ones were going up like once a week, I feel like. The electric, fuel, water, sewer, all that stuff, again, the 15%. The campground expenses and improvements left the same, and the tree maintenance left the same, just because I don't know what's gonna happen with the way we're doing the fixing of the campground now. Any questions?
Kate, are you part-time?
Yes, I am. Okay, so the beach salaries and the vacation camp salaries, that's a 3% raise for all of them. The training stayed the same. First aid went up just because of the cost of all the stuff we need to get. Snacks went up as well because it went over a little bit this year for selling stuff, but we make it up. I mean, buying stuff, we make it up when we sell it. Summer equipment, again, went up just because everything's going up. And the water, sewer. Beach telephone, that is what it's going to cost us this year. It's a contract.
Was it a phone in the?
Snack shack,
Yeah.
just in case emergency
It's a
landline.
landline.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Contract cleaning, that's what that is. Beach maintenance and beach construction, those stayed, well, one of them went up. Beach maintenance went up because who knows what the cost is gonna be. The special programs, I kept those the same. We try to do offsetting weeks, like one time we go to a beach, and then the next week we have a water or big trip like Santa's Village or something. Arts and crafts went up 100 because things cost, and the buses stayed the same because we were under. After school, that's the 3% raise. And then the after-school expenses stayed the same because that's basically the snacks and stuff that we get. But I get that through, we still qualify for the food bank, so we can get fruits and vegetables and stuff cheaper through them.
This might be. Actually, Marissa, I have kind of a sensitive question there, Fred. How are we determining the salaries for our directors? Are they negotiated when people start and then we're just escalating them from the start date, or are they mandated, or?
No, they're not mandated. We look at what other towns pay, and we look at what the unions are dictating as far as wages are concerned. We try to land somewhere in the middle.
Because our directors are not union, correct?
That's correct.
Just because it seems that they're a little bit all over the board.
They are a little bit all over, that's the traditionally the way they've been in this particular community. At some point in time, we need to do a complete evaluation of all
Yeah.
the salaries.
I think that might be necessary because you have someone making less than half of a full-time person.
Yes.
They're part-time and that doesn't add up.
Doesn't take much to get them to add up.
No, it just,
But yeah, they need to all be reviewed.
they need to be reviewed and cross-checked.
Yeah, all the non-union ones, yeah.
All the non-union salaries need to be reviewed.
So like I just, most of the department heads, directors have
Yeah.
Yeah.
contracts.
No, I understand the contract, that was my question. When you come in, are you negotiating a salary or is it, cause like I understand you negotiate a salary and then you just get an escalator every year, but these are wildly all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's the way they've always traditionally been in this town. It's time,
Yeah.
it's time to do an overall survey of everything. Try to get something in line so we realize where we're going.
Agreed, cause just adding 3% every year doesn't fix that.
No, it doesn't fix the problem at all.
No. Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's fine, I was done.
Yeah, Brett, let me know if you start that.
Oh, sure. I'd like to get it done sometime before town meeting finishes.
I agree. If
Yeah.
you want, I'll come in
Oh, terrific. Now we can use all the help we can get.
Who's doing Memorial Park?
Oh, I can do it. It's got a placeholder of 15% for electricity. It's technically part of Parks and Rec because it's a park, but we've separated it out so that Ann's not affected by it.
Because they have a committee that runs it.
Yeah.
They have, they get the money for it and everything, so they might as well.
Library.
Yes. So have you had a chance, or did you just get this material? So have you had a chance to look at our narrative, or?
A little bit.
Okay. So the budget requested narrative, we start with the library wages, and the FICA, Medicare, and then our general operating expenses. So the two main things are the wages and then the general and operating expenses. So a lot of the information is about the general expenses. And again, this approximate breakdown of the budget line is subject to change by the library trustees within the total amount appropriated. But this is what we have based on past years and what our patrons are using and not using. You can see the first one, the audios, there's been a decrease because people aren't purchasing audiobooks because of streaming. So books, most of the increases are contractual, like the catalog fee for the online catalog, that's an increase of $200. Dues, increase of $30, again, contractual. Electronic resources, increase of $100. Furniture, we're really trying to do as much as we can to upgrade furniture and the overall atmosphere of the library as much as we can with what we can. So that's why we're asking for a little bit more for furniture. Our programs are pretty popular, so we went way over this year, so we're asking for quite a large increase for our programs. Same with supplies, as other people have mentioned, the cost of everything is going up, so there's an increase in supplies. Tech support and videos show a decrease again. Streaming. Cleaning has increased. And the fire alarm system, is that decreased because we got a new system? That's right.
Yes, they're monitoring the system.
Right. And again, utilities, we had an increase of 600. Hopefully that's gonna cover the increases in water and electricity. Anybody have any questions?
What's the percentage of your wages increase?
It has actually not increased by very much.
It looks like it went down, is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
We recalculated based on actual experience, so,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
based on actual experience, who's working when, so how many hours they're actually working as opposed to what we thought they were gonna be working. Big changes.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense? It's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People with different
Part-time
salaries.
hourly people coming in now.
Right.
Yep.
With different salaries.
This explanation is great.
Thank you, thank our team.
Also, I think it's great for the programs. I've gone to a few of them, and I think it's been great, so I'm happy to see the increase, because that means the town's showing up and participating. I think that's a nice one to increase.
Thank you.
That concludes the budget portion. Next item on the agenda is review and approval of the water ordinance.
So is this the,
So they're
is this the
gonna,
impact fees?
we're gonna read they're gonna read the ordinance and, Fred and I and Andrew have to work out a revision for the appendix.
Okay.
The ordinance.
Okay.
Are you presenting something else? We are going to be presenting something, but it's what your packet is.
Okay, so I only found one change in here, and it's unfortunately, oh yeah, page 12. F, meter repairs and replacements necessitated by ordinary wear will be paid for by the division, should be paid for by the division. That's the only thing I found incorrect.
I didn't find anything else either.
So do we have to do a public hearing on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we get a version of this that has changes in it?
Yeah, I think we're just reworking appendix A, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you did not receive appendix A, it's up for discussion right now. So once we review it, I can send it electronically to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the changes highlighted or?
Yeah.
Okay,
We can do it that way.
alright, perfect, yeah.
And if you find anything else, just let me know.
Okay, so until we've got appendix A, we can't have a hearing on this, correct?
Yeah, you should do it all at once, yes. And
So
I'm
we
about,
will-
I'm about halfway through appendix A, so.
We will table that. Next item on the agenda is review and approval of water rates.
Yep, so if you turn around, there's a nice presentation. So this was done between Marissa, Chris, myself, and Grand State Rural Water in the beginning. So this is just looking at the rate history of the water department. We bill in 100 cubic feet. So you can see between 1999 and 2000, it dropped significantly. And then it took roughly 19 years to get back up to where it was in 2000. And currently the rate is $6.35 a hundred. So this is just showing the impact of the drop. So essentially, we lost $1.9 million in actual revenue from dropping $2.85, I think it was. And you can see up there, I don't know how well, but I used what we currently sold 41,000 units. I estimated at 36 because we had less connections back then. So this might even be a low number too. So. Thanks. So this is what we have going to our future. We have $9.4 million in future projects. If you're able to zoom in on the top part to your left. Keep going. So the equipment is the sections of pipe that need to be replaced. The big one is Highland Street, which I think, scroll to your right, has a visit from our CIP. So I think we did a 6-year, and everything that you see on the right is extended timeline, which makes up the $9.4 million. So Highland Street's one of the big ones, and you can see in the packet where the other ones are.
Yeah, we have the entire packets too.
So this is currently what the water department has for funds on hand. Marissa might be able to break down this a little bit better.
Sure, so the water department, the first line is your actual cash account. So this is what the water has on a day-to-day basis as of the end of September 30th. The capital reserve funds I've included, but I'm gonna asterisk water tank. So we did the cleaning earlier this year, which was about $4,500. But there is a pending invoice for just under $20,000 for a well repair. So that's gonna drop that down to about $50,000.
Yep.
But this is what the water department has to work with every day.
So yeah, you can see we have $250,000 for $9.4 million in future projects, so there's not a lot of wiggle room there, so.
This accounts for the $5 million bond that's out there?
Nope, we haven't bonded that out yet.
So
Yeah, this
in
is just
addition.
cash
So-
on
so
hand.
We have a $5 million bond out, and you're saying we need to look at $9 million
Yeah.
more.
So this whole rate study kind of came about because if you look in 2025, that's the projected operating budget. So that's what you're going to be seeing me present sometime later this month. And then 2024 projected revenue, and then you can see the difference. The numbers don't add up, so hence the need for the rate increase. And the 2024 numbers are just projected from October of last year to December of last year, just so we can have kind of a better understanding, because less water is being used in the winter time, so. And this is the customer profile of the water users. As you can see, probably not very well. 85% of the customers that we have are 5/8 meters, so they're small residential, and then there's the breakdown, if you want to get more nitty-gritty. And we have 29 seasonal customers, 16 off accounts. Those are accounts that aren't being used right now, whether it be a vacant house or whatever. And fire lines is important a little bit later on if we decide we want to charge for that service. So how do we determine the rate? This is with $75,000 going towards capital improvements. $75,000 doesn't make too much on $9 million of projects, but it's a start. Much better.
Per year.
Per year, yep. So we looked at 4 different types of rate structures, charging on certain things, and this is kind of how the department's set up now. So we charge a flat service fee for the different size meters. So if you can zoom into that for a second quick. So, go to the right. So your 1-inch meters are gonna be, your 1-inch services are being charged a little bit more, and so on and so forth, as you get larger in size, because you have more access to water essentially. So how we broke this down is we knew how many customers we had with each. And if we can secure guaranteed revenue essentially from those different line items, we knew what we need to come up with to charge per volume of water usage. And we also included turnoffs, miscellaneous money we get too, so.
And what's the rationale for that breakdown? Because I noticed that the fixed charges are doubling in effect.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that method as opposed to all in the rate increase for consumption? How'd you balance
It's
that?
guaranteed income, because with volumetric charges, you don't really know what you're gonna get. Because people can conserve, and then that doesn't, you need to have some type of fixed income essentially, because you're kind of dependent on people using water here and there, so we have fixed expenses we need to meet. So if we can't meet those fixed expenses, we're not making water.
So basically, it's an infrastructure offset, what you call the fixed expenses versus your variable costs of supplying water.
Yeah.
Is that how you rationalize it?
Essentially, yeah. So based off that, you can see it in the bottom, what we would need to charge for volumetric, assuming we have the same exact amount of water sold as we did this year. So,
I think it's worth mentioning too, Andrew, and I'll let you speak on it, that the cost for these water meters, as the technology improves in them, is increasing, correct?
yeah, so we have a pretty good relationship with our meter distributor. You'll see in my budget, I've increased it a little bit, only because there's gonna be a very large increase in the next 3 years on them. They're locked into a 2-year contract now, so it's better to purchase these meters now and replace them now. And you also account for more water too, when you're replacing older technology. Most of the meters in town are mechanical, so they wear out over time, and a lot of them are like 20 to 30 years old, so the new ones should account for more water as well. So this is the big part, customer impact. So based off, go to the next one. So based off how many units, which is, I'm calling units 100 cubic feet, just way easier to say that. So, as you can see in the first column, the person who uses one unit of water, what they currently would be charged is in orange, and then you can see $1 increase and a percentage increase for those, and it kind of goes so on and so forth. The last column, that accounts for 78% of our population. So I looked at all last year's data, and anybody who used 6 or less units accounts for 78% of the users in town.
So the rate for structure that Andy was proposing from the previous slide is this fourth column here, and he's offsetting that by this current rate, so you can see the direct impact.
Yeah, and you can see that we look at this different ways too. So if we purely want to charge for volumetric, not charge a base rate, you can see that is rate structure 2. That obviously helps people who use less water, but it greatly impacts businesses. So you gotta kind of find that balance between who you're trying to impact, and I guess, I think rate structure 4 is probably the best happy medium. It's the second lowest on lesser users, people who use less than 1 cubic foot of water.
And you're paying off the current bond as a fixed cost.
Yeah.
That's part of it, when you say you have fixed costs, that's part of your fixed cost, it's not just infrastructure,
Yep.
you've got the bond payments that.
Yeah, so how all these numbers came in was based off the budget, and we broke it down to fixed and variable costs. Those include budget, like your fuel's gonna be your variable cost, stuff like that. So that's how we kind of got to the rate we're at.
And the town lost $41,000.
That's what we project to lose from the water side this year, based off what we brought in for water, or what we sold for water last October to December, and essentially using that as the numbers from now to the end of the year.
Can I ask a stupid question? So like, I've paid towns for water and then I've had private, not wells, like an actual private company.
Yep.
Silly to even think about, like at what point we might give up our own water supply, like, this just seems like we're just losing money and we're increasing rates.
Sorry, what was that?
Privatization, bringing in a third-party vendor to
I guess in theory you could, it's just, is that gonna cost a lot more money?
Or would it be up to town?
It was actually done once.
Yeah, I've had private third-party water that gets brought in.
Yeah.
Not to,
No.
sorry.
I mean, might be nice to just know what the alternatives are at
Yeah.
this point with those kinds of costs, but
Yeah.
I suspect that you won't solve the problem with privatization.
Are you talking about going to like a contract ops or like a, so we used to be contract ops and that was an extra $100,000 to the water department's budget every year on top, because they're gonna make money off it too, so. A place like Pennachuck's making a lot more money versus if they were just privately or owned by the town or
Yeah,
city.
we have control of it here. Yeah, I wanna dial back to one of your earlier slides, because I just wanna get this straight in my head, but because we went through a rate reduction that seemed unjustified in the year 2000,
Mhm.
you're estimating that the water department has lost since that almost $2 million.
If rates were kept the exact same from 2000 to now, I think it was 2019, that would account for $1.9 million.
Yeah, so I mean, that would have offset the 5 million that we had to bond,
certainly.
right? So we would have.
Yeah, and that doesn't include your purchasing power or anything else.
So, I think it makes the point that, we'd all like cheaper rates,
Mhm.
but ultimately, it's the infrastructure that's going to suffer.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're gonna pay the bill, and probably would have been cheaper to continue all along as opposed to now have to make these massive
Yeah.
investments. So catch 22.
Yeah, say we want all these infrastructure improvements, they have to be paid for, so.
Well, there's two pieces of information to remember too, right? This is an enterprise fund, so it should be self-funding. The other piece to remember, like Andrew alluded to, is the fact that these rates got rolled back for whatever reason. When we first went over this, Marissa and Andrew and I mean, after I picked my jaw off the desk, that they rolled rates back. And then we talked about the money that was missed out on, this revenue that was missed out, and now we're just above where we were 24 years ago. I mean, it's
Right.
mind-blowing that this even happened back then. But yeah, an increase is definitely warranted to keep the water department functioning. I mean, they're not asking for big equipment, right? This is just to keep water flowing.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lesson here because this is not, we're not the only town to go through this. And I think you pointed it out, Andrew, you have variable expenses on a day-to-day basis, and you have the long-term costs that the infrastructure represents. It's very easy and not really very smart to just fund the variable costs on a year-by-year basis and disregard the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that works. The rate payers got a good deal here until now. When now it catches up to us and we wind up with an infrastructure that has to have a massive investment.
Yeah, and I'd like to know too that we're lucky, Ashland's lucky in the sense because 80% of our infrastructure is 1995 or newer. So a lot of it is new and we're able to kind of just let it run. But as you can see, projects are quite expensive when you.
Pipes in the streets.
Yeah,
and
so
whatnot, all part of it.
like I said, the other 20% make up a very large expense, so that's what we kind of have to budget for, and we're eventually gonna have to bond out, and maybe we'll get lucky and get a 70% match, but that's not a guarantee, so.
Thank you for that analysis. That was very enlightening.
So these are just other kind of rate change stuff, kind of minuscule stuff. It's just increasing our turnout fees for scheduled ones. So these are your seasonal homes mostly, and then increasing it a little bit on the same day calls that we get and disconnects, and then charging for final reads. Currently, we don't charge right now. I think we have to go out there. It's a labor thing, so. I believe we should charge for them. And then if you guys wanted to, some towns charge for fire suppression systems. So people have access to 4, 6, 8-inch fire suppression lines into their businesses. And that access, some towns decide it's worth charging for, because it's just like if somebody had a seasonal home and they didn't use it, but they still had access to it, they still get charged a base rate.
But we don't wanna discourage fire suppression
No,
systems.
we do not want to discourage fire suppression, but like I said, it's a benefit, you have access to 1,000 gallons a minute.
And there weren't many, right? If I remember your slide, it was
I
like
think-
less than 10 or something.
I think there was 6 guarantees I know, but obviously I don't know all the fire suppression systems in town, so. I think some towns charge based off inch of pipe, some towns charge a flat rate. I think probably a flat rate would be a better, you don't want to discourage people from putting fire suppression in. But at the same rate, you want to charge for access to your services. And this one just kind of breaks down all of it, so all the increases and changes, so.
Marissa, can you blow that up, please?
Yeah. It picks for me, but. So it goes volumetric charge and then in order the
So
The
it'd be
size.
5/8 is $10, 1 inch $17.90. Yeah, and that's current.
Yeah.
Inch and a half, 34, 2 inch 54, and that's the largest we have. And then that is same day charge for shutoffs. That is disconnects and the first one's scheduled, the second one's same day disconnects. And then final reads and fire lines if you so choose. Any questions?
No, thank you. When do you need a vote on this by?
I think we were aiming for January 1st as an effective date.
right, we were
January
gonna
1.
ask for January 1, which would be February's bill, it would be reflected.
After the holidays.
Right.
So January consumption.
When do the new electric rates go into effect?
We're anticipating all of them be February 1st if we can
That's correct.
pull it all off, so it would be for January's consumption, February's bill.
We need to let people know prices are going up.
Yep. And there's a bunch of ways you can do it too. You can change your base charge down to and increase your volumetrics. At the end of the day, you guys kind of decide the rate, so I think we have to have some fixed amount of money coming in, so.
You need these numbers to do your budget too, right?
Yeah, no, I think you've got a very logical approach by recognizing the difference between the fixed costs and the variable costs, and that should be incorporated in
Yep.
the rate structure.
Yep.
Folks, do you want some time to
Yeah, absolutely.
digest this?
Yeah, we need to think this through. Yeah, it looks really good, but
Yeah.
so it's such a large change that I think we
Yeah.
just have to be.
I agree.
our heads.
Thank you. And while you're right on the hot seat, water system development charge.
So maybe Fred can go into this a little bit more. So from what I understand, essentially what we did is we took into account how much water we're able to produce in a month, and based off our depreciated values, that is essentially buying into the system. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fred?
No, that's correct. I mean, that's the bottom line of it, really. What we did is we followed the sewer charge for new sewer services. And since the state already has a fundamental base rate for all that, we stole their base rate and put it into a rate for us so that we weren't going to lose anything if new services went in.
Yep.
And do we need a public hearing for this?
Yes, so you do.
Keep going.
You should do all the water hearings together. And I'm about almost 50% through on the appendix charges, so.
Okay, so we should see that next meeting.
Oh, yes, you'll see that next meeting, and
Okay.
the division will have an opportunity to review it before then.
Okay, so we can table this for the time being.
Put it all together.
Yep. Next item on the agenda, sale by public auction, tax title land, 8.8 acres on North Ashland Road. We can sell this by auction, or we can sell this by sealed bids. This particular piece of property we've had on hand for a long time.
Yeah.
It's right across from the golf course,
Not the parking area.
the parking area, it includes the parking area,
Okay.
okay? We took it over in 2011. My recommendation would be that we auction it.
I agree.
We have two
Eager beavers.
Yeah.
eager people to own this property.
Yep.
Two competitors.
Yep. Agreed.
Anybody wanna make a motion?
I make a motion to auction the 8.88 acres that the town currently owns.
Okay, that's tax map 201-18, and I will second that. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just a question. The auction sounds fine, except if we know of two active bidders, what keeps them from working together to reduce the auction price?
Opposing interest.
We don't have to accept the final auction papers. In other words, we can set a minimum price.
Reserve.
Reserve.
Okay, so we control the auctioning.
We do.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Any further? So we have a motion on the floor to sell, tax map 201-18 is 8.8 acres. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Next item on the agenda, request for signature table in front of Town Hall by and for CADY. This is for tomorrow.
Yeah, Fred, they're asking for, I thought it was just, they're asking for money though?
They're looking, they want to petition town meeting as they do each year, or try to do each year. And they need 25 signatures. They had difficulty getting them this past year, so they did not petition. But they'd like to put it someplace in front of town hall where people are regularly coming in and ask them to sign the petition so the town can appropriate the money at town meeting.
Megan, they gave us a phone call, it's not an email or a letter.
Yeah, no, they just, I mean, the title is, town funding, and then there's a notice here that says,
Yeah, they gave us a call because they wanted to ask all the rules and where they're allowed to collect, so.
but they're just asking for signatures and then if it.
Signatures on a petition for a warrant article.
Yeah.
And since it's in front of the town hall, that's town property, the selectmen have to approve it.
Does this create a problem where you have to do it for everybody?
I don't think it's gonna create a problem. It would if it was tomorrow, but, you know, I mean, they're looking for only 25 valid signatures.
Well, everybody's looking for $25
Yes, I know.
signature, so, you know, at some point, everybody will have booths out in front of the
Some,
town hall.
something you have to contend with as to how many people would you allow to do this and when.
Well, But the other thing with Katie is that because we're part of the Plymouth SAU for the high school, don't they have the resource through the high school in Plymouth?
No, because they're a private organization, they're not part of the town or part of the school system. As a result, they look for private donations by warrant article. And that's been their modus operandi for a number of years.
Does everyone know what Katie does?
Hmm?
Does everyone know what the program does?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's,
I've seen a lot of people set out to get permission outside of Dunkin' Donuts or whatever to, you know, where there's volume of traffic. I'm just concerned that we've set a precedent here for the town hall, and all of a sudden, that's what everybody wants to do. Now, I mean, this happens to be a very good
yeah.
cause, there's no question about that, we want them to get their 25 signatures. It's just a matter of, do we make an exception or set a precedent?
Yeah, I agree with Charlie on that. I'm not a big fan of this idea.
When they called, I suggested perhaps they could use the dump or the front
I'm
of
not a
the,
big fan of that either, because I've seen them there and they're in the way.
yeah, front of the school, as long as they don't get in operational disharmony with whatever we're doing. And that's difficult because they all want to be where the traffic is.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think the town has to stay out of this petition business, you know, for collecting
Yeah,
signatures.
this was their idea, not ours. So
Yeah.
I've steered them to the selectmen because I don't believe anybody should approve this except the board.
Yeah.
And I have some questions about it too.
The only, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only thing is, you know, obviously we want the youth in our community to have access to the resources.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly with the opioid crisis we're all seeing. So I don't want, I just want us to consider that.
Yep.
To make the exception for
Well, 25 signatures, you know, we can all meet them privately and sign their
right,
petition and
we
then
can
get
do
the
that.
25 signatures.
they can have 5 here.
They can have my signature, all I do is just look me up.
Yeah.
All right?
That's what most of them do.
Yeah.
It's all right.
And this is only one of getting close to a dozen organizations to position town meeting, so
Yeah.
this could get kind of cumbersome.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
I'll make a motion on this that we decline to have Katie or any other future organizations organize in front of town hall or at the transfer station requesting signatures.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to turn this request down. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any opposed?
Thought you were gonna skip me there.
No, no, got a little ahead of myself.
Alright.
The next one's already in the budget, but they did send a special letter in addressed to the board, so I put it on the agenda, just in case you had any questions. This is something they do every year. It's in the budget. We put it there purposeful. They like to send that bill in the spring, sometime in May or June. And I just wanted to call it to your attention that in fact one's going to come to belong to that organizational structure, which by statute we're required to belong to.
How much is it?
Roughly. It's like $1,900.
Yeah.
Why did it say 350? Am I looking at the wrong thing? It says thank you for your support. It says 350.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fix this.
No, the LRPC dues are $1,900.
Yeah, I think it's 1,900.
Local advisory committee.
Oh, no, this one is for $350. This is for their local advisory commission for
So-
financial support.
We get 2 invoices.
Right.
One is for LRPC and one is for an advisory committee.
Right,
So it ends up working out to be like $2,200.
$2,200 we pay every year.
Okay, next item is campground. As you are all aware, we did a walkthrough down there, we had some suggestions. How do you feel about the suggestions? One was that the pine trees all pine trees be taken down. It was suggested that we create defined parking for both the RV as well as the cars and trucks that are at each individual site. Site identification, that'd just be new number signs and on a clear post. And then it was suggested that we call Dig Safe. That's a free service, and I hope that's been done by the electric department. And you were checking on prices for the trees?
Yep. So for all the trees, all the pine trees, my estimates are around $80,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't think that's doable.
Cause there's a ton of them up there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Isn't there logging or interest that would want those trees?
Yeah, for $80,000 they'll come again.
I thought maybe they'd
If they
pay
were,
us.
if they were hardwood, it'd probably be a different story.
Yeah, I thought
But-
maybe they'd pay us.
So,
Are there any trees that are compromised that need to come down?
I have, every year before they go in, Casey Hickson's tree company comes in and takes any that he sees that are, could
So that's the
cost,
50,
that's the 50,
5,500?
yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about this? Is this, so like, I hear like the Economic Development Committee is handling this and then we're voting on some of this. Should it be part of a big, like,
Well, I
are
think
we
this,
cart horsing this?
well, I think this is some obvious stuff that,
Got it.
I think the
Got
board, has reviewed and looked at. I think the Economic Development Committee, hopefully will deploy that for maybe the bigger picture view. But I don't think there's anything wrong to get down to the basics here.
No, I agree. I just, if we do this stuff, like, and if we're gonna open in 2025 and that's the goal,
Yeah, we gotta go.
we gotta,
That's right, it's
you
gotta
know,
happen.
we
Yeah.
gotta get this stuff, and which it sounds like you're doing.
that's what we're doing now. We're talking about it, whether we want to attempt to do any of this stuff. Item number 2, defining the parking. That's gonna be a lot of fill coming in.
Yeah. Like that.
What's ledge back now?
$18 a yard.
Yeah.
$18 a yard.
Yep.
Probably the average site is gonna take,
6.
no, I think it's gonna take more,
Well, figure
10,
6-wheeler load maybe, right?
yeah,
They hold 6 or 8 yards and out.
Yeah.
6-wheeler load.
So $180 a site.
Yeah. 200
Yeah.
probably.
plus labor and
Yep.
trucking.
That's what, 23, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's doable right now, do you?
That's mostly why they want it all. They want those platforms because it makes
Yeah.
a muddy mess when it rains.
Yep,
So they all want a platform, so if you make it nice,
Yes. They're still gonna want the platform.
they may not want it.
They're still gonna want the platform. That sand tracks in pretty good
It
too.
does, yes.
But to Megan's point here, this is where we need to know what we're going to charge.
Yeah.
And how the feasibility of the charge and how much we can invest to keep the charge rate something that is reasonable and people will respond to. I think that's where the Economic Development Committee come in on, what will this cost? How does that reflect in what we're charging? And what can we afford to charge? And I think that's going to define some of these things. So I would agree with the chairman that those larger expenditures, we're gonna have to wait till we figure this out.
Site identification, that's probably pretty easy.
It's pretty
to probably
simple.
do that.
Yeah, you're just thinking of like a PT post in the ground with like a nice
With
number
a
on
nice
it.
sign on it, with
Yeah.
a site number.
Yeah,
That's a simple,
that's doable.
This is the print.
and dig
Just
safe,
the
that's something they can automatically do anyway, or they're gonna
Yeah,
automatically
Dig Safe,
do anyway.
yeah.
If we police what they put on the trees, we won't have so much trouble with the trees.
Right.
I walked through there and looked at a lot of those big pine trees, and they're just full of nails.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing to do.
Yep.
Those trees are eventually gonna come down.
Agreed.
Okay, and that pretty much covers that stuff. The next thing on the agenda is a revolving fund for the campground. Fred, you wanna explain that a little bit?
We need to put some money aside and have it available during the year for the director and for the campground. And what we're doing is we're putting 100% of all the receipts into the general fund as receipts. If we create a fund balance account, we could be putting some of that money aside and taking care of problems as they arise during the year without sacrificing an increase in the tax rate. But we have to be careful about how we do that, so that we don't have an increase in the tax rate. But we do need some working capital rather than robbing Peter to pay Paul occasionally to get something done that really needs to be done. I really want to continue to put as much money as possible against the rate, because I don't want that going up. And we've been pretty successful in doing that the last 3 or 4 years, of keeping the rate constant. But we're gonna have to do something to make sure that it stays there. And putting a little money aside in an account for the campground and the beach and so forth would help a lot of that move forward, so we don't see these little spats of the tax rate. We don't need those. I'd rather see it go down than up. So that's the reason for that account, and trying to work it through so that it can pay for itself and pay for the improvements that we have to do occasionally.
Yeah, I would reference the water department's analysis that Andrew gave us as a good example for the campground as well. We need to identify the
Yeah.
fixed costs and the variable costs and use that to determine the rate.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we don't want to use tax money. I think that's pretty clear. And the reality of it is going to be the reality of it. I mean, nobody likes the proposed increases that the water department has given us, but that's what it takes to run the water department. And we're gonna have that same situation with the campground. We need to objectively identify what it costs to run it and figure out how we're gonna make a business out of that.
Well, that's the idea. We sort of messed up on the water department years ago because we lowered the rate artificially. And if we had that money now, we wouldn't be out borrowing money, we'd be out working. And I think the same can hold true for the campground and the beach, and give the director some money to work with when she needs it in order to keep things up to date and without impacting taxes.
Absolutely has to be the goal.
Okay, this is probably something that will get resolved after the Economic Development Committee gets going. So, everybody comfortable with tabling this for the time being?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know we need to have this fund,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we need a warrant to create it or anything,
That's
so,
right.
You do.
well, we do.
You have to
Yeah.
have a warrant
Yeah.
article to create a
Okay.
revolving fund.
All right, so we'll just keep in mind the timelines we need to get
Right.
that warrant article done.
Yep, we've got a few
Make sure
months.
we're there. Okay.
Next item on the agenda, speed limit change request.
I've given each of you a copy of the statutes regarding speed limits, and it does not appear, in fact, it appears in some cases that the speed limits are posted below legal limit.
Yeah, 30 miles an hour, right?
So my suggestion is, since speed limit signs that are enforceable by the police department are black on white, that we post yellow or black on yellow as a warning sign, that will sort of tell people that in fact the speed limit is less than what is posted lawfully. And we could do that because they're not lawful speed limit signs, but calls their attention to the fact that this is a densely populated area. There are a lot of folks, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of traffic, and a lot of construction. That we can do, and we don't need to violate the law to do it. We can go ahead and do it and set the limits the way we want them, the way the police department can be looking at them to enforce them and remind people, you gotta slow down.
But you can't legally enforce that yellow.
No, they're not speed limit signs, they're cautionary signs. Chief and I have been all through this.
Wait, so we're gonna put out a yellow sign?
It's a yellow background with black lettering.
And it'll say speed limit 20 miles per hour,
You got it.
but it's not legally enforceable. So if I got 30, you can't.
It's a cautionary sign, and you can be stupid, I suppose, and cause an accident when you see one, because you said, oh, the heck with this, instead of doing 25 miles an hour, I'm gonna do 45 miles an hour. And that result of that is that the judge is not gonna think that's funny. So,
I live on that road.
Yeah.
of course, the chief is here, so he could talk to it, but
Is it really that fast? I mean, North Ashland, people go like 50 and we complain.
Yeah, so there was a complaint that came in for River Street specifically, more specifically in the area by the big turn by Thompson Street to
Yeah.
the marina up at the end there. You know, there are a lot of people that walk, a lot of people that walk their dogs, they run, bike, there's kids in the summertime always up and down that road. There's a lot of activity with the boat yards in that area, and so we got a complaint, the speed limit on that road is 30 miles an hour. It should be, in my opinion, just my opinion, it should be lower. 30 on that road is incredibly fast. But we can't legally just go and change the speed limit on a road with it still being enforceable. So as Fred and I talked, really the only solution that we have at the moment would be to do something like a caution sign. And that's realistically all it would be, is it's, you know, a suggested speed limit, but not really enforceable. I shouldn't say not really enforceable, it's not enforceable. So, I mean, if somebody's going 30 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone, even though we suggest that they go 15,
Right.
they can go 30 miles an hour. But it's just, it would be, the only real kind of solution that it would present would be to let people know that there is some reason to have caution in that area. And we do get a number of complaints about that road, but in all honesty, we get plenty of complaints about North Ashland Road and Thompson Street, and Winter Street and Mill Street, and, you know, pretty much
Few
Pickett Street, we get complaints on it. But
they don't speed fast. They speed up to see how fast they can get going before they hit the radar.
that's why we put a max on that, so that it didn't continually just go up to 99. We put a cap, so it just says slow down.
60.
60 is the max.
Otherwise, you get like the high score ratings and everything, which we don't want to have happen.
So how about if we move that down there and put suggested speed
Yeah.
20?
We do have, we have regularly put our speed trailer down there. To draw attention to it. But it doesn't change anybody's, you know, concept of what the speed actually is. It makes them more aware of what they're going versus what the speed limit is. But again, this would be just a suggestion and a cautionary tale. It wouldn't be anything that we could really do much about.
yeah, unfortunately, we can't do what these folks want us to do. Although it makes sense in some cases. I was down there a week ago and I think traffic was moving too fast then, and there were a lot of vehicles around, a lot of people around. And in the summertime, it's even worse because now you've got a lot of children around.
The summertime, it's pretty bad again, with the marinas operating and moving boats all over the place, getting deliveries of boats and parking in the roadways while they offload. You know, there's a lot of
Confusion.
landscaping that happens in that area, so there's, you know, trucks with trailers as they're offloading lawnmowers and such to work. So there is a lot of traffic down there with the pedestrians and the bicycles and everything else. But in order to change the speed limit, we have to have that study done by the state to legally reduce the speed limit. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know what that process looks like. But
It's
I
lengthy.
imagine with just about anything with the state is incredibly slow moving.
Yeah.
So if we try to get that study done now, we'll probably get done in 10 years.
Let's put up the yellow sign.
Yeah. I mean, if that's all we can do, that's all we can do.
You live on that road.
You don't need to
think
vote
it's
on that,
fast.
Fred, do you?
No, I
It's
just,
not like
With
North
all
We're
those
looking
Ashland.
for your
trucks and the
consensus.
boats and stuff like they're talking about, they're not gonna be able to go that fast. I mean, I don't see an issue with it, and I live on that road.
North Ashland,
Yeah.
definitely.
This came to fruition by, the complaint came to us, to the police department, to me directly. I directed the individual to Fred, so Fred and I got together and we kind of bashed our heads against the wall for a little while, trying to come up with creative solutions of how to kind of combat this. And this was about the best we could come up with. So it's not just like we just decided to throw up an orange sign with black lettering to say slow down. But we're trying to come up with any kind of concept or idea that we could to combat any speed issues and to show that the public that they came in, they had a complaint. We did take it seriously. We are looking at what our options are, but realistically, the options are slim for that area. So we're trying to walk that line of appeasing the complaint as well as doing something that's legal and justifiable.
How many complaints? Is it just one person?
We do get phone calls,
Yeah.
like I said, but we get phone calls on every road, but I mean, we do get phone calls. This was this guy came in to complain about it to us, and then I directed him around the building to Fred's office to have a discussion with him about it, to see, from that position, from the town manager's seat, what could or couldn't be done, along with what we can do.
The only other thing we can really do would be to go to our state representative or state senator and ask for special legislation for that road. Because if they would do that, and then we could legally lower the speed limit, then it could be enforceable by the police department. But that would have to be the way it's done, because speed limits are set by the legislature.
Right. No, that makes sense. They do the road studies.
And I don't know that you can enforce below 30, because we ran into this in the town where I work.
Yeah, we can't.
Right, so I don't think you could, even if you lower it to 25.
Yeah.
You can only enforce above 30, so
Yeah.
my suggestion is this, it's not a through road, those yellow signs are gonna be a waste of time, because they have a finite life.
Oh, yeah.
If it's really an issue, then my suggestion would be we do occasional directed patrols there.
We do already.
Right, so you're doing what you can do within the law. I mean, I don't think we spend any more time talking about this on a side road when there's nothing we can do to change the speed limit. Which
Actually,
quite frankly probably wouldn't make a difference anyway.
he's probably doing more than he should be doing.
Yeah.
When you get right down to it.
All right.
And move the speed thing from North Ashland over. No more.
Yeah,
Oh, Fred, the next one.
it's fun for the feeble-minded, it's-
Have fun.
Fred,
Yeah.
is this next one, has it been a year already, or am I still negotiating from last year? What is this?
I've been chasing the utilities in town now for 2 years.
Okay,
Before our former superintendent of municipal light passed away, we had a discussion about the contracts for attachments to telephone poles owned by the town, and we own them all 100% except for the ones on North Ashland Road, where we've allowed the cooperative to put additional sections on the poles. And we're not being paid for that. We should be paid $11 and change for each attachment on each pole by each utility.
right.
So I did talk to the superintendent, and he's now, of course, passed away. And he told me where to look in the Public Works Department, the Electric Division, where to look to get the documents that I need in order to bill these people.
Right.
And they're no longer available.
Wait, Consolidated, we told them.
Now, that's the agreement, that's not the leases where they actually have the authority to put on a pole, which is what we need.
Okay,
And they've all disappeared. I have the superintendent down there pulling apart the final boxes in
Okay.
storage. I've asked the utilities on several occasions to send us their list of things that they have, where they have received attachments from the town. I've never received anything.
that's okay. Can you tell me the list of people that have attachments on our poles?
Well, we could make a good guess at it, yeah.
Because we have a really good pole agreement, that Charter sent
Yes,
us.
yeah.
I think it was $22 a pole, not 11. And what we could do is I could just.
I'm going by the old agreements.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I could just work with Naomi and we can notify each of the people that has a attachment on the pole and just say,
That's thousands of dollars for the utilities that we don't have to raise the rates. And I really don't want to increase the rates if I don't have
no,
to.
no pressure, no pressure. Can you,
I'll
do
get
you
a list.
know who has attachments on every pole?
Yep.
Okay,
We
you
can,
send me that and I'll put together just a form and just say, in the absence of the lease, this is the rate we believe is fair
okay,
moving forward.
all right, sounds good to me.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
then I'll work with Melanie.
Well, I'm looking for the money because I think our utility takers need it. And they're not getting it.
Yeah, I agree. That was easy. I thought you were resurfacing that because I took too long.
No, you've been busy.
Next item on the agenda, appointment application for Benoit Lamontagne to be on the Economic Development Committee. And question, is his term going to be 3 years?
3 years is what we're expecting, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
I make a motion to appoint Bino Lamonte to the Economic Development Board.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second to appoint Bino to the Economic Development Committee. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're doing good. We're doing good.
All non-public session minutes.
Both ones out of lines, you gotta go on the bottom.
Next item on the agenda, non-public minutes statutory review. Fred?
Mr. Chairman, the legislature passed an order, I believe almost a year ago now, at the request of the Attorney General, that all towns review all old non-public session minutes which have been sealed and not released, to see which ones can be released and which ones, they should all be reviewed. We're gonna be starting out to run up against a deadline for that this coming year, and we need to get rid of it, just so they won't be harassing our Board of Selectmen to get it done. And I don't want that to happen.
Okay. So we need to plan on some time for doing that.
Well, we all have them, correct?
Yes?
They're all in the same order.
Have you got them, Megan?
Yeah, I have a binder
Okay.
that Marissa gave me.
Okay. All right. Any new business?
I have a, no, it's old business, sorry.
Doesn't matter. Any old business?
I got it in too late today. Kearsarge Electric has sent us a letter of intent. They got the PPA pricing down to $66 a megawatt and increased the lease payment for the non-landfill land to $5,000 a megawatt per year. So we're trending in the right direction, but Marissa helped me today. Our wheeling costs are about $2 per megawatt. So in order
Yeah,
for
that's
us,
about right, yeah.
so in order for us to break even, we have to get that PPA price down to about $64 instead of 66. So my plan is to talk to them tomorrow, and see if they can get that pricing down, and if they can,
Perfect.
give the letter of intent to the board to look at, cause we would break even.
Yeah.
With our current rates. And it would come from our local town. If everyone's okay with that?
It won't hurt us at all.
No, but 66 I think is still a little too high.
Yeah.
And I'll share that with them as long as everyone's okay with that, the wheeling costs. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's an NDA necessity.
No.
Any selectmen's personal items?
I talked to Fred, got a letter from Consolidated. The middle mile is still moving forward. They've broken ground. They still have not selected a vendor, so you can ignore the email. I think that was just a business poke, like hey,
Yeah.
we can give this to you, so you're good.
Anything else? Next item on the agenda is non-public session, RSA 91-A:3.